think it was a lot harsher than everybody anticipated. Just building everything and putting everything together and, you know, decorating everything and stuff. It gets tiring. You're sitting around waiting for ages. You know, the guys are sitting around waiting for ages to skate. And it's just a, you know, grueling process. It's almost like making a movie or like some kind of movie set. You know what I mean? Like seriously, like to the point of even people yelling action and stuff. You know, I don't know. It's just kind of different than skating, you know, traditionally.
No, I heard that it was pretty harsh from companies and teams in the past. So I expected to do a lot of building, not much sleeping, and a lot of waiting around.
Have I lost it? I've lost it several times. I've been a dick a million times, but that's just the way it goes. That's the way the cookie crumbles, right? Like, you're in a super stressful situation, you want something done, somebody's not listening, somebody's not paying attention, somebody's not working with you, you're gonna snap. There's only so many times you can be polite and positive, like trying to get your point across, and it doesn't work. You gotta try a different route.
I think everyone's the most stressed they've been in, I don't even know how long. I thought it was going to be fun, and hasn't really been as fun as I thought. I mean, no, it's fun. It's just really stressful and pretty hard to skate all these crazy obstacles.
The concept that we ended up doing was put together at really short notice because we had actually started off with a different idea that involved like animating some of the obstacles and actually pulling them apart and putting them back together. And then once we found out that the ramps this year had been built so well, it kind of put the kibosh on our idea. So my wife Sam and I were looking on the internet for ideas and inspiration, and we just came across some images of this Chinese guy. He basically had all these images where he'd painted himself into the background of various obstacles. So we sort of drew some inspiration from that. We'd had all these ideas of doing optical illusions that looked as if they would be really complex, but we kind of wanted to incorporate some of that into it as well.
I thought that it would be a little bit more organized. Like, I thought that it would be more like working on like a film set or something where there's like people doing like building the sets and everything's a little bit more delegated. So, you know, within this, everybody's just like doing everything, and yeah, that's kind of how I'd hoped it would be, but yeah.
Getting painted in the suits is the worst thing ever, because you get painted like 3 hours before it's even ready, and you can't really move, because if you move, the paint spreads to another white part of the suit. So you can't move for hours, and then you have to sit in place for hours with this Speedo on your cap, on your head, and it squeezes your ears. So that's the worst job to do. Each
time we've painted a person in, and then seen the photo, how the photos turned out, like I've been super psyched on it. I've just, yeah, been like, oh my god, I didn't realize it would actually look that great.
The raddest looking obstacle, in my opinion, is the stairs with the angled up ledge, but that's the most difficult one to skate.
I think making just kind of random cool obstacles is fun and cool, but my favorite was just the bench, granite ledge up, granite ledge down. I mean, that was already made before we got here. That was kind of the coolest obstacle to me, because it was kind of more the most street obstacle that was here. The rest of them have been just propping up ramp after ramp, you know, and try and make some cool stuff. And I think some of them look really aesthetically interesting, but I mean, it is just propping up one ramp to another ramp to another ramp, you know, compared to like the two granite ledges. They're just rad granite ledges, you know.
Tommy, he did every trick on every obstacle. Back nose one did bump to hubba. That was the craziest thing that's gone down, besides everything I did.
You know, there's a couple of guys who really like always came through, like James Hardy and Tom Astor, both kind of the younger guys. They skated pretty much everything, they gave everything a shot. They were kind of always here, you know, and even if they weren't skating, they were kind of down to hang out or like just kind of be ready to go if we had something for them.
As far as cope the most, even though it doesn't seem like it because he hatches all the time, it's probably James Hardy. He's done the most stuff, and he's been around the most, been here, been positive, but then he has little things that kind of kick him out, but he comes back and skates it, does gnarly stuff, and then goes back to his little retreat, and that's it.
I told Gilbert, Mike Gilbert a little bit. He seemed to think it was going on. They were clocking, you know, they were getting footage. That's all he can do, really, is just get in there and get it as fast as you can. probably looked like they had a slow start the first couple of days, but they started going in there, and they were, they were getting a lot of stuff.
Champion gear that I rock, you get your boots knocked, then attack you like a pit, then lock shit down. Cause I come and freaks the sound, hardcore, we're giving you more and more, like ding, not sure to get you open like six packs, killer bees.
So etnies are going in next. They actually come back from last year because they won last year. So they are going to recreate the World Park from the early 90s in a lot of different ways too. They're going to recreate the park, they're going to recreate the clothing. Been talking about a couple of guest appearances from different older pros who were around in that day.
I just think it's a cool idea to like try to recreate the World Park. I mean, even though there's not like all the same obstacles, so you can't really like truly recreate it because it's, a lot of the same stuff from before it's being utilized. It's kind of the same feeling. It's definitely, it kind of feels like this session kind of feels like a World Park session back in the day.
Experience this year is much more low-key. Last year we had 8 assistants and a lot of set dressing. This year's been a lot more freestyle, which seemed like a good idea. Thought it's going to be a lot looser, but it's had its own inherent problems. I think the worst moment was when the guy we'd hired to do the graffiti left and didn't want to come back, and then we realized that we were going to have to do it all ourselves, and graffiti is really hard. There's one thing to be able to do artwork, but can control and everything is really, really hard. So that's definitely been the lowest point, was realizing how shit we are at graffiti and then having to decorate a whole set with this turd rolled in glitter.
Everybody seems hyped. Like, I haven't skated with Devin in a long time and he's skating good. Tyler has been just killing it, always, which is cool. Last skating creative was hurt, so this time he's been ripping, and it's just always awesome to hang out with these guys. And so we're in a warehouse and we're all just kicking it.
Last year we were in like a smaller area and it was more of like a production, so it kind of, tempers were flaring. And this year, dude, it's a lot more mellow. Like, it's a huge place. What we're doing is not as stressful, I guess to say. So it's actually fun. I'm having fun.
Oh, it's been wonderful, man. Just seeing all the old cats come and, actually participate and having a team. It's been good, man. You can't ask for anything else, so. Man, honestly, like, after today or after this thing, I feel like there's no way to go back. I feel too comfortable, right? You can't wear tight pants no more. What the hell is that?
You get way more shit in your pocket.
Oh, hell yeah. You feel way more shit and you get way more tricks.
Just seeing how much of a mess it is. For one, all the graffiti, all the rooms are a mess. There's like, porno mags everywhere, beer everywhere. Just the smell, it definitely brings back a lot of memories.
Everything tight happens at night. I don't know. Like, we're all hanging out here. People are doing crazy shit. The forklift is awesome.
Like, around the time that all the graffiti was all, when we just like bombed the whole park, that's when the World Park was like the place to be, and people used to come from everywhere, from other states, but just roll up like, hey, we heard this is the World Park, you know what I mean? It was crazy. It was just crazy. I mean, cops came all the time. The cops would always get called. I remember one time, I think it was Rudy, it might have been Rudy and Tim, it was for sure Rudy, was up on the roof of the park tagging, and you could see from the 405, you could see the roof of you drove right by the park. So a cop drove by and saw them on the roof tagging of, our own skate park. And it's like, kind of, how do you know what I mean? Like, they came there and they saw we were just running wild, like it smelled like weed, where everybody, bunch of underage kids drinking, but there isn't much they can do because it's private property. They can't just bust in, so they're kind of like hanging around outside, trying to like get us to like give up like information, like what we're doing there. But they couldn't do shit because he's tagging on the roof of our own property in the sense. So like, fucking, you can do whatever you want on your own shit. So.
They look kind of freaked out, Rick Cossack especially. I didn't want them to think we were perhaps mocking them with our outfits or anything, but it definitely seemed like they've taken to like ducks to water. They're definitely loving it. Mike Santa Rosa put his gear on, and the first thing he did was he looked down at his board and he was like, wow, I remember this. And then he's been ripping the park ever since. I'd say baggy trousers and graffiti are the way forwards.
I've stressed out a couple times, but it was more or less just because I was sucking and couldn't land a trick. But it wasn't that bad. I don't know. I'm actually having fun. So I bet if you watched my interview from last year, it was like way different. I hated it last year. Oh, dude, last year I'm still like, dude, this sucks, losing it. But no, I'm having a blast actually.